Yo-ho, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Yinzer on Hockey. Before we begin, make sure you go down below, hit that like button, make sure you hit the subscribe button, and click that little bell so you stay up to date on all the off-season happenings. So today what I want to do is, I want to go out on a limb. I want to put my predictions out there and give to you 5 bold predictions for the upcoming season. Some of these are going to be not as bold, and then some of them are going to be very controversial. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of the things that I believe could happen in the upcoming season. Number one for me is I don't think there is going to be a single repeat division winner. I think all 4 divisions in the NHL will have new division champions. To recap, the division champions from 2017-18 was the Pacific Division was the Vegas Golden Knights, Central Division was the Nashville Predators, Metropolitan Division was the Washington Capitals, and the Atlantic Division was the Tampa Bay Lightning. The Atlantic Division is pretty obvious. The teams behind Tampa got a lot better, so there's going to be a possibility that excuse me. Going to be a possibility that Toronto meets expectations and overtakes Tampa Bay for the crown in the Atlantic Division. In the Metropolitan Division, I think there's going to be a slight hangover from the Stanley Cup run of the Washington Capitals, and I think they could fall back, and I think both Pittsburgh and New Jersey are realistic teams that have a very good shot of overtaking Washington for the Metropolitan. In the Central Division, this one's going to be quite a surprise. I think the St. Louis Blues have done a lot this offseason to become a much better team, and I think they're going to surpass the Nashville Predators. And I think there's going to be a little bit of a hangover from Nashville's season last year with the President's Trophy run and the deep playoff run. And I think Nashville's going to fall back to the pack a little bit. And in the Pacific Division, I think that Vegas lost a lot of leadership in their locker room. Losing James Neal, losing David Perron in free agency. They brought in Paul Stastny, which will help balance that out a little bit. But I still think they lost too much veteran leadership. And I think both San Jose and Anaheim are teams that should compete for the possibility of winning the Pacific Division. My second bold prediction for the upcoming season is Rasmus Dahlin will not win the Calder Trophy. I know he's the obvious pick, the number 1 franchise-changing defenseman, and he does have all the evidence to support that he is going to be a great player throughout the course of his career. I think it's going to take some adjusting. Going from the international size rink down to the NHL size rink, that's going to be an adjustment for him. He plays very fast. He'll adapt to that pretty quickly. But the NHL is a statistical-based league, and the writers and voters for all these awards, they look at the numbers. And while Rasmus Dahlin is very, very good at moving the puck and playing defense, and he is very good with the puck on his stick, his stats aren't overwhelming. If we look at his elite prospects last year, his elite stats from last year on EliteProspects.com, for Frölunda, he had 7 goals, 13 assists for 20 points in 41 games. Again, not overwhelming numbers. Very good for a defenseman, and he's going to be a very good defenseman in the NHL. But I think he's actually going to get outshined by one of his own teammates. I think my favorite for the Calder Trophy this year is going to be Casey Middlestat, center iceman. He did play 6 games with the Buffalo Sabres last year, 1 goal, 4 assists, 5 points in 6 games, 11 goals, 19 assists, and 30 points for the University of Minnesota. So he is the type of guy that does put up overwhelming numbers, and I think he's going to be the guy that keeps Rasmus Dahlin from winning the Calder Trophy. My third bold prediction, and this is one, it's not overly bold when you consider taking one player versus the field. The field's very large, and there's a lot of very, very good players in the NHL. And my prediction is that Connor McDavid will not win the Art Ross Trophy. There was a lot of players that were very close to him in points. Kucherov had over 100 points. Claude Giroux scored a ton of points. Evgeny Malkin was up there in points. All these players do possess that ability to find that next level and maybe get 8 or 10 more points. Maybe a full season with McKinnon all the way healthy will be in that conversation. And maybe Taylor Hall just gets a little bit better and is able to add to his points total. Again, when you take one person versus the field, in the NHL, I'm always going to pick the field. So I'm going to vote Connor McDavid does not repeat for the third consecutive year as the Art Ross Trophy winner. My fourth bold prediction, I think there's going to be at least 5 new playoff teams that did not make the playoffs last year that will make the playoffs this year. If you look back at it, going from the 2017 playoffs to the 2018 playoffs, there was 6 new playoff teams from year 1 to year 2. And I think we'll see a drop-off from that a little bit. I think a lot of the teams that were in the playoffs last year stayed pretty level to where they were before, but I think a lot of the teams that missed the playoffs got quite a bit better. And I think that a team like St. Louis, Dallas, Calgary, Florida, and Carolina, all those teams are possibilities to make the playoffs next year. So I think that we should see at least 5 new playoff teams next year. I can't say for certain which 5 teams I think will miss the playoffs or who replaces who, but I think it's a safe bet to say that 5 new teams will be in. And my fifth bold prediction, again, this is one of those, when you take a player versus the field, it's always best to bet the field. But Ovechkin in his career has won 7 Rocket Richard trophies. So he knows how to score goals, and he scores them in bunches. And many people thought a couple of years ago that he had dropped off. He had statistically his worst season in 2016-17 when he only scored 33 goals. A lot of people had thought he had dropped off. He bounced back last year with a 49-goal campaign and won the Rocket Richard again, as well as the Conn Smythe Trophy for the Stanley Cup MVP. I like Ovechkin. I do think he's going to maintain his 40-goal pace, but I think with some of the new rules in place as far as the sizing of the goalie equipment, I don't know if that's been finalized or not. There's a lot of discussion about it, and speculation is that it should be finalized before the season starts. That you could see the goal scoring totals go up a bit. My favorite to bet on for the Rocket Richard right now would be Patrick Laine. I think he is the next generational goal scorer. He's going to be a guy that probably throughout the course of his career will average 40 goals per year. And I think Laine is the choice for Rocket Richard this season. So those are my 5 bold predictions for 2018-2019. Let me know in the comments below, what is your bold prediction? Who can have a breakout season? Which teams can cycle out of the playoffs? Who's your picks for the division winners? Just let me know in the comments below. Make sure you hit like and subscribe on the video. And until I see you next time, have a good day.